PNG must cut all ties with Australia, a call for true sovereignty. Leaders, citizens, brothers and sisters of Papua New Guinea, we gather today to confront a truth that has haunted us for more than a century, a truth wrapped in deception, betrayal, and colonial arrogance, a truth that must finally set us free. That truth is this: Australia cannot be trusted. For 70 years, from 1906 until our independence in 1975, Australia occupied our land. They ruled over us, not as a nation preparing us for freedom, but as a backyard protectorate, a buffer zone to shield their own interests against Asia. And when that long 70 years ended, what did we inherit? Fragile institutions, weak human capital, limited infrastructure, a society deliberately kept in the dark. 70 years is not a short time. 70 years is enough to transform a barren desert into a thriving nation. 70 years is enough to build universities, railways, highways, industries, and strong governance systems. But what did Australia leave behind? Almost nothing. They left us unprepared, by design. Why? Because in their eyes, we were never equals. We were never brothers. We were never future partners. We were dependents, a people to control, to keep weak, to keep underdeveloped. And they acted with a policy of do as little as possible. That was the colonial mantra for both your country and mine. Spend the least, maintain order, and prevent trouble. Development, progress, empowerment, these were never priorities. Let us not forget the deep racism that underpinned this. We were excluded from education, administration, and leadership roles. Why? Because they said we were not ready. For decades, we were kept deliberately uneducated. Our Highlands brothers and sisters were isolated until the late 1950s. Only when global decolonization pressure mounted did they rush to build schools, hospitals, and some token institutions. It was too little, too late, and selectively applied. Brothers and sisters, let us also remember the dark chapter of blackbirding. Our Melanesian people were kidnapped, tricked, and shipped like animals to toil on the cane fields of Queensland. That was Australia's first act of exploitation in our region, stealing the sweat and lives of our ancestors. And do not be fooled. Today's so-called labor mobility schemes are the modern form of blackbirding. They export our youth, our workforce, to pick fruit and clean their industries while our nation remains underdeveloped. Instead of building industries here, they exploit our labor abroad. That is not partnership. That is exploitation dressed up in a suit. And after independence, has anything changed? No. For 50 years, trade has remained in their favor. We import Australian goods in bulk while they buy little from us. They dictate the terms, they write the agreements, they still behave as masters. This is economic colonialism. Now they come again with treaties, with MOUs, with sweet promises of defense, trade, and partnership. But let me remind this House, every single treaty with Australia has always been for their benefit, never ours. Their defense white papers left our PNG Defense Force underfunded and degraded. Their so-called aid comes with strings attached. Their partnerships are merely instruments of control. But brothers and sisters, history shows us that nations can rise when they believe in themselves. Look at Singapore, a small island, no natural resources, surrounded by larger powers. Yet through determination, bold leadership, and belief in its own people, Singapore transformed into one of the strongest economies in the world. They did not sit waiting for their former colonial masters. They carved their destiny. Look also at Burkina Faso in Africa, a poor, landlocked country with little to its name. Yet under leaders driven by pride and sovereignty, they refused to be dictated to by former colonizers. They declared that their dignity mattered more than aid or exploitation. They chose self-determination over dependency, and the world began to respect them. Papua New Guinea must learn from these examples. We are richer than Singapore in resources, larger than many countries that thrive today, and stronger in culture than most. The only thing holding us back is the colonial shadow of Australia. Leaders of Papua New Guinea, I say this with no hesitation and no apology. We must cut all ties with Australia. We are a sovereign nation. We do not need to lean on a former colonizer that never intended for us to rise as equals. We do not need treaties that make us a puppet of Canberra. We do not need MOUs that chain our future. For the next 50 years, our path must be without them. Let us stand tall among nations. Let us find partners who respect us as equals. Let us build industries with those who do not see us as servants or buffers. Australia underestimated us for 70 years. They dismissed our potential. They despised our independence. They never believed we could build a nation. But look around you. Our people are strong. Our land is rich. Our culture is unbreakable. There is nothing Australian here. What exists today, we are building from scratch with our own sweat, our own wisdom, and our own resilience. So to the government of Papua New Guinea, I say this: never ever trust Australia. Never sign another treaty. Never sign another MOU. Never bend to their promises. Never again let our sovereignty be compromised. To my fellow citizens, I say, stand up, stand firm. Demand from your leaders that we chart a new course, an independent course, free from Australian interference. We owe it to our ancestors who suffered in blackbirding. We owe it to our people who were denied education and dignity. And we owe it to our children who must inherit a nation that stands proud and unchained. 50 years from now, let it be said that this generation of Papua New Guineans drew the line in the sand, that we finally said, enough, Australia out. PNG stands alone, sovereign and strong. Please like, share, comment, and subscribe to PNG Ways Fighting Neo-Colonialism in Greater Melanesian tribes from the mountains of West Papua to the islands of New Caledonia, spreading along the South Pacific Oceans. God bless Papua New Guinea.